The Russian-American peace plan includes, among other things, declaring Russian the official language in Ukraine and resuming the work of the Russian Orthodox Church in Kiev-controlled territory. The Ukrainian leadership will not accept this plan in its current form, the Financial Times reports, citing informed sources. As the publication notes, the peace plan is in the early stages of development, but was already conveyed to Kiev this week by U.S. Presidential Envoy Steve Witkoff through Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine Rustem Umerov. According to people directly familiar with the document, the draft plan requires Ukraine to cede Donbas, including territories not yet occupied, reduce the number of the Ukrainian Armed Forces by half, abandon key categories of weapons, reduce U.S. military aid to Ukraine, to grant the Russian language the status of an official state language in Ukraine, grant official status to the local branch of the Russian Orthodox Church. Recognition of Crimea and Donbass as Russian territory is one of the main conditions of the plan. According to the Financial Times, the adoption of this plan would potentially leave Ukraine vulnerable to future Russian aggression. A source familiar with the document described it as very general and heavily biased in Russia's favor. Another informed source called it very convenient for Putin. Officials in Kiev familiar with the plan told the publication's author that the document meets the Kremlin's maximalist demands and that Ukraine will not accept it without significant changes. The leak of the document has raised concerns in Washington, Brussels, and Kiev. Experts note that the implementation of such a plan, especially the Crimea issue, is extremely difficult from both a political and legal perspective. According to analysts, the leaked text may be more aimed at testing the positions of the parties, gauging the reaction of international public opinion, and defining the framework for possible negotiations. Trump's proposal for U.S. security guarantees as a kind of consolation prize for Ukraine is also more than strange, the Telegraph columnist Daniel DePetris notes. Trump's proposal for U.S. security guarantees as a kind of consolation prize for Ukraine is also more than strange, the analyst says. First, it contradicts Trump's entire premise of abdicating security obligations that shouldn't be demanded of the U.S. military. In fact, such a scheme runs counter to the America First principle. Secondly, how would bringing Ukraine under the American security umbrella differ from offering Kiev NATO membership, a decision that successive U.S. administrations have avoided for 2 decades, as it would inevitably anger Russia and require a unanimous decision within the alliance, he notes. Some NATO members may even oppose U.S. security guarantees, fearing that Trump and his successors will expect them to help defend Ukraine if the situation deteriorates further. Russians, for their part, will likely view U.S. security guarantees as irrelevant in and of themselves. The most important thing is also unclear: will U.S. security guarantees mean anything to Ukraine, and will the Americans be able to ensure their implementation? Petraeus emphasizes, the Biden and Trump administrations disagreed on many issues, but both held the position that it was not worth engaging in a conventional conflict with the world's largest nuclear power just to protect Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in Turkey Wednesday in search of diplomatic support for Ukraine's fight against Russia. According to Associated Press in Ankara, Zelensky began his visit by honoring the memory of Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, the first president of Turkey, at the Ataturk Mausoleum. Later, he will meet Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan as part of his efforts to diplomatically isolate Russian President Vladimir Putin and bring more international pressure to bear on him. Putin has so far resisted making compromises, despite U.S. pressure. Foremost, we will discuss maximum capabilities to ensure that Ukraine achieves a just peace, Zelensky said of his talks with Erdogan, adding that the leaders have good relations. Zelensky also said, "We see some positions and signals from the United States, well, let's see tomorrow." He didn't elaborate, but tough new American sanctions on Russia's oil industry, devised to push Putin to the negotiating table, are due to take effect on Friday. A senior Turkish official initially said that U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff would join Zelensky in Turkey, but backtracked later in the day and said Witkoff wouldn't be coming. The official spoke on the condition of anonymity Tuesday because he wasn't permitted to speak publicly about the arrangements.
Ukrainian Armed Forces